Hello. Thank you for joining me for November's Workscope Wednesday. Our agenda for today, we will go over the compliance audit, technology rules, monitoring, supplement, not supplant. The grant spotlight for November is Title II, and we will go over the 2020-2021 Workscope development process. The federal government has granted LEAs more flexibility with federal grants in certain circumstances. But with increased focus on review of required process, the onus is on the LEA to ensure compliance. The Special Revenue Funds Management Department will monitor program manager compliance through regularly scheduled audits to measure if program manager is meeting compliance requirements. The compliance audit will review the items listed here: the comprehensive needs assessment process, whether or not a district improvement plan reference has been set up, the BOSS report, signed job descriptions for all employees that are funded under your program, monthly budget reports every month by the 15th, professional development documentation, whether your employee or you that has paid for a virtual training, a local training that you attended here in person, or you've traveled to attend a conference or training. Supplemental pay documentation. We will check to see if you have any payouts of supplemental pay and verify that you have documentation to substantiate those payments. Contracted services and evidence of services rendered. Your work scope committee monitoring meetings. There should be two for 2021, one in October, one in February. We will review the work scope planning meeting for 2020-21, the evaluation of your work scope process, and your technology inventory. Let's take a closer look at one of the elements that are going to be part of the audit. This first one is the comprehensive needs assessment. When was the comprehensive needs assessment supposed to take place? It should have taken place here back in August prior to you being awarded title funds. The requirement, it is a state and a federal requirement that a needs assessment take place. Um, Therefore, you should examine all pieces of data that should support your requests for federal funds. And because all of our work scopes are so different, um, the what documentation that you have or what elements that you have, what data you have will differ from work scope to work scope. And you are the expert on that. What data that you review, what tells you that your department is doing a great job or the district is not doing a great job in this area or is doing an outstanding job in this area. You would know for your work scope what that is. It is the comprehensive needs assessment is something that is eligible for a TEA data validation. So if uh, your award comes up for a validation and they want to see a comprehensive needs assessment, I would be pulling your data, your evidence, and sending them what you upload, and they would decide whether it is past validation or not. Here, some of the things that you absolutely have to have are meeting agendas and notes, sign-in sheets, and make sure the roles are defined. Parents, teachers, um, principals, they should be a part of your committees that are looking at your CNA. Of course, the members of your department and the numerous other people, depending on what you're doing. But these are some examples. But again, the actual areas in your CNA, the groups that you have, depends on the focus of your work scope. The program manager is responsible for taking care of having a CNA. We will look for it in Title I Crate Upload. Uh, when we do our validations, we will make comments here to say if there were any areas of needs of improvement or what was really great that we saw that supports your CNA or whatever area that's being reviewed. We will make comments here. These are the timeline and the dates of review. The first one has passed, and um, we've done quite a few, all of them, and you will get feedback on what that is shortly. It is October 31st was the first one. Again, it will happen in January, March, and May. If you get a compliant status in one of the first one, then it will not be reviewed again. So your goal is to get a compliant uh, rating as soon as you can, because the comprehensive needs assessment was done prior to you receiving your funds. You should be compliant here, but if not, you will have a few more options to get a compliant rating before we finalize for the year. The compliance audit timeline. Again, I'm mentioning here are the quarters that we're going to be reviewing. What's important here is I'm telling you exactly which areas we're going to be looking at. Some will repeat every time. Those would be things like the monthly budget reports, because those are monthly things that you have to do. Job descriptions may probably be reviewed a lot of the times just because it is you may have new hires. It's just we want to make sure that that is up to date. We will look at budget reports and supplemental pay, contracting services, probably several times, even though it's listed here. But it sort of depends on when you um, add those charges to your budget. Anything that you were non-compliant in the first two quarters, we will review the third time, and then the final time for review will be here. And we'll check everything to make sure you are 100% compliant in case you are validated by TEA. Our next section, supplemental pay. And I know that may seem like I'm just singing the same old song. If you came to our payroll transactions, we discussed supplemental pay in depth. But it is because it is an area that is always validated by TEA, and they always and any of our auditors, matter of fact, they audit supplemental pay closely, and that they always seem to be able to find the one thing that we're lacking or missing. So we're trying to really make sure we are on top of it this year. So I really want to point out these things. These are what we are encouraging and must have compliance to. Approvers should closely review payroll prior to approval. We see numerous charges every month that have gotten through, and then when we contact a department, they say, "Oh no, that person wasn't supposed to have been paid." Well, that's why we're asking you to review it before it is entered into the system or when it's there, because that way you can stop it before it actually goes through and gets paid out. I cannot urge payroll approvers to closely review your payroll prior to you approving. There's an audit supplemental pay report. We went through again with that on the payroll transactions training on how to find that. But if you're still having trouble, please contact us. We'll walk you through how to get it. Always utilize the biometric clock, or if you are in person or if this is virtual, make sure you use the web clock for supplemental pay. We highly discourage using any type of manual entry. Um, Due to our past history, It was an agreement we made with TEA that we would use a digital form of tracking supplemental pay. So please have all employees who are going to use supplemental pay use the biometric clock or the web clock to log their hours. If it becomes a problem, we will just, and we can't get compliance to that out of a department, we'll have to suspend allowing supplement pay until we retrain you again about the importance of using a digital form of logging supplemental pay. I've already said manual entry of supplemental pay is strongly discouraged, and this was a solution that we came up with TEA to use the biometric clock. Technology rules. The deadline for ordering technology was November 9th, 2020, a few weeks ago. All funds remaining in technology budget lines and those budget lines are 639900 and 639600, will be transferred to 6399. Just a reminder, you are responsible for the control of inventory. You are to track inventory in TIFWebit. If you have purchased technology for campuses, you are still responsible for controlling the inventory, which is harder to do. I would definitely agree with you, but that's why it's even more important that it's kept control of. You must track it and make sure that you know at all times that technology is still on campus doing whatever it is that you place it on that campus for. You must file a report with the Dallas ISD Police and acquire a report number for any loss of stolen technology. And we've had a number of those with laptops, calculators. If you lose those or they're lost, or you just have no way of finding out where they are, please make sure you file a police report and give me that number so that I have it. January 29th, 2021. That is the deadline to have all technology purchased with your 2021 federal funds logged into TipWeb IT and entered into Title I crate. So the report that you get out of TipWeb, you upload that into Title I crate. You'll see here, this is the web page to get to all the information about TipWeb IT, the information from Controllable Assets here, their web page, and you follow this link. It's a hot link for you to go to their website and find out information about TipWeb. Monitoring. I went over this in my last Workscope Wednesday, but I think it is worth going over again this month. I've had a few emails and some questions regarding it. Your first work scope monitoring should have happened in October. The next one will be in February, so prepare for it accordingly. Uh, when you have federal funds, it is a requirement that you monitor to make sure the money that is being spent is being spent on something that is effective. So you must want monitor through data and make sure that whatever you're doing is being effective and make adjustments accordingly. Monitoring virtual meeting documentation. I wanted to go over these again. I think this is a little bit more explicit about what you have to have and what it should look like. But you must have an agenda. You must have active notes and minutes. That's basically saying who is saying what, particularly when you have parents who are commenting or asking questions. Make sure their comments are recorded accurately, please. You must have a sign-in sheet. You must have an online form of some type of a survey or poll that takes the names, their role. So if it's Jan Martin and she's a parent, you must make sure that spreadsheet or your sign-in sheet reflects it. Her name, her sign, her role, as a parent and what campus that her student is at. I've given you a couple. I've done a for this meeting, and the other training I had a form for you to fill out. You can use the chat, but the Google form is really easy. You just ask a few questions. It ends up your responses come out as a Excel spreadsheet, and it is timestamps when they enter the information. So I would strongly recommend using the Google form. If you have some questions on how to do that, I'll be glad to help you with that as well. And you must have include in your documentation what did the monitoring meeting, what were you looking at? Did you have a survey? If you had a survey, what were the responses? If you are looking at test data, scores, if you those teacher scores or student scores, make sure you have that documentation included as well. If you had email questions or responses or comments, you can always include your email as data or complaints. Complaints are an honest form of data because if the complaints are valid, you can use those complaints to make sure what you're doing is improved. So please review all the things on this slide that should make it should explain it a lot clearer what the expectations you should have for documentation when it comes to monitoring. Also, I received a question about um, if I didn't get a chance to hold the monitor meeting, you should hold one as soon as possible. Remember, have a minimum of two. So we're not at the end of the year, so you still do have time to make up and make sure you have those two. Um, but you cannot use the form that you use on things like supplemental pay to say, I didn't have any supplemental pay, I have no documentation, and upload that. That is not an option because monitoring is not an option. You must do the monitoring. And some of you, I've already reviewed your what you have or have not done, and it's already a part of some of your audits. Again, if you have not done it, it's not a crime. You still have time. Um, the year's not over, and you'll have a chance to put and have your two meetings, monitoring meetings, before the year's over. Supplement, not supplant. Generally speaking, for programs that have a generic supplement, not supplant statement in statute, if federal funds are used to enhance or expand a state mandate, state board of education rule, or local board policy, then the federal supplementary activities must be separately identified and clearly distinguishable from those activities identified as necessary for implementing the state mandate, the SBOE rule, or local board policy as identified in the implementation plan. Basically, you got to, what that's saying is you've got to be extremely clear where whatever you are doing is supplemental and is not at all doing something that is one of those things. It's not a state mandate, it's not an SBOE rule or local board policy. If in any way what you're trying to do is a fulfillment of one of those things, then it is a supplant. There are three presumptions of supplanting. All title funded activities are to be supplemental. They are to make LEA initiatives more effective for the disadvantaged. Here, I think the pie is a great example. The pie is a board policy. It is a state mandate. The ice, the whipping on top, or the icing on a cake would be where title funds come in. They make the pie, the base, sweeter. I mean, you could have the pie and it would be fine, but it would even be much better or more effective for students, especially those who are disadvantaged by having the title funds add something supplemental to it. Remember, these are the three rules of federal. Think about this. If you're trying to make a purchase, these are the three presumptions of providing services required under state or federal law, providing the same service as those provided in a prior school year with state or local funds. And the third one is providing the same service in federal and non federal programs. Okay, what we're going to do now is play a little supplement, not supplant, Jeopardy. Okay, the first question is: Department purchases licenses or a set of books for Title I campuses and purchases the same materials and licenses using local funds, which would be your general operating or 199 budget, for a non Title I campus or any other set of campuses. Would that be a supplement or a supplant? What is a supplant? This is a supplant. Basically, this would be a no no. Let's look at the next question. If a district requires certain PD for every teacher to improve instruction, would using Title II funds be supplanting? What is it depends? If the district says that all teachers should participate in a certain type of training, because that's our overarching goals of professional development for a certain year, that is not a supplant. But if the PD department, ADP department goes to the board and has the board put it into policy that every teacher will participate in this particular training, that would be a supplant. Let's look at the next question. How does this work on state comp ed funds? If both state comp education and Title II funds are supplemental, is it an issue to use Title II funds one year, but state comp ed funds the following year? A one-time shift. What is supplemental? No, this is not considered a supplant. The LEA staff will be attending the required House Bill Education Reading Academy training so that the LEA can be an authorized provider. Can the LEA use Title II Part A funds for the travel related expenses, such as mileage, meals, and lodging? Can you please confirm if this specific request would violate the supplement not supplant requirements? What is a supplant? House Bill 3 does currently require each teacher and principal in grades K through 3 to attend reading academies for 2021-2022. Thus, use of Title II Part A funds for reading academies related professional development activities would be considered supplanting. Again, if you use it would be a supplant if you use federal dollars to carry out a state required activity. All right, thank you for playing Jeopardy with me. I hope you learned something about title funds and supplement not supplant. We're going to move on to Title II Part A and the purpose and intent, and a little bit more into details about Title II, Part A. Okay. The purpose and intent of Title II Part A funds is to increase student achievement and consistent with challenging state academic standards to improve the quality and effectiveness of teachers, principals, and other school leaders, to increase the number of effective teachers, principals, and other school leaders who are effective in improving student academic achievement in schools. Basically, the intent of Title II is to improve the effectiveness of the leaders, be it teachers, coaches, um, principals, who are leading the instruction on a campus. So this is not, Title II funds are not necessarily for students directly, but indirectly by improving the ability to educate students and their level of proficiency in a craft. Title II has three areas of focus: recruiting and retaining effective teachers and principals, specifically in high need schools, professional development and educator growth, and other evidence based activities, which we'll go into detail a little bit later on. The ESSA definition of professional development: activities that are considered allowable professional development activities. The activities should be sustained, intensive, collaborative, job embedded, data driven, personalized, sort of based on the need of the teachers or a campus, and classroom focus. So basically, not a drop in or a one time shot professional development, but a long, consistent, intensive type of training plan for teachers, because it's evidence or has proven that giving teachers one time professional development on a topic is not sufficient in order for them to become proficient in whatever the skill that you're trying to teach them. So it has to be a longer, more in-depth process of professional development. So no more standalones, and if it is a just something that you just saw that the latest greatest thing that you've heard about, but it's not connected to a larger professional development plan for the district or for a student, I mean, for a teacher that you've identified as an area of need of growth, then it's not something that you should use title funds to pay for. So there are steps and requirements that you should go through for evaluating whether or not you should use Title II funds to pay for it. So again, number one is about whether it's a supplant, because the supplanting rule does apply to Title II still. Make sure you prioritize spending on campus that are identified for needing the most improvement. Ensure those activities that you want to spend money on are for all students, but specifically, they should be based on students that they have you have identified that have been a higher need. Also, you found out that you need there's an area that you want to address in your comprehensive needs assessment that's outlining your improvement plan. Um, Again, that defines in number three meets the definition of professional development, which we went over already. Ensure that the expenditures meet EDGAR requirements, which that's not something you necessarily will know directly. I will help you by approving it or not approving it, and also with our purchasing department. They they look at Edgar requirements and they will help you follow. That's so you'll know about what you have to have matching bids and those type of things. So that's really with Edgar. It's something that I'll help you with the purchasing. That's mainly their deal. Number 5, ensure that all LEA policies and procedures are followed. And that sort of comes in with, again, procurement policies or travel. If there's something that we make sure you follow rules and policy on that. So here are some examples of some things that will help you know about supplement, not supplant. What are examples of other organizational partners with relevant or demonstrated expertise in programs and activities designed to meet the purpose of Title II Part A? Those are individuals or organizations that have an expertise in a field. Can an LEA use Title II Part A funds to pay for materials and supplies for use in PD sessions? All the funds used for materials and supplies are allowable. Make sure that you follow those other steps to make sure it would be completely allowable. Not alone is it just because it's for a PD session isn't allowable. You still have to check all the other boxes. Title II program requirements. There we have 6. Alignment of activities to the challenging state academic standards, meaningful consultation. That means when you're building your work scope, that you have meaningful consultation with the required participating entities like the principals, the parents, the teachers. You coordinate with different funds. Maybe you have another grant, 199 funds. You sort of make sure that you spend all your money to sort of enhance your spending capabilities by making sure you can coordinate all your different budgets that you have. You prioritize your use of funds. That means make sure you go to the neediest campuses, the neediest teachers, the neediest principals. The system of professional growth and improvement. Remember, you have to have a professional development has to be based on facts, on needs. And the private nonprofit participation, we take care of that for you centrally. All right, let's talk about the 2021-2022 work scope process. What I have here is what I know. When I find out more, I will definitely let you know. But this is what I know right now. Uh, it may include a grants council. We've tried that a few years ago, and it may happen again this year. I'm not sure. You are to develop a timeline on how you're going to pace yourself to get through all the steps to create your work scope and make sure it's submitted in a timely manner, and you do all the things that you need to or required to do. The first part of what you need to do is to create a work scope planning team. Reach out and make sure you get some participants who are willing to actively participate in the development of your work scope. Uh, Program evaluation has to sign off on work scopes. So I would highly suggest that you reach out to program evaluation and touch bases with the evaluator for your grant. They have limited personnel, so it's best to get in early and touch bases with them, and so they know what you're doing, and maybe they can assist you along the way instead of just waiting to the end for a signature. Go ahead and start your data collection for your comprehensive needs assessment. Get those people in place for your needs assessment meetings. They may or may not be part of your work scope planning team. That's really up to you. For me, I would probably say some of the members probably should be the same because you wouldn't have to explain the whole thing over to them again. But they definitely, it's not a requirement that they're one and the same. Review your data from your current, and this is a reoccurring work scope, go back to past work scopes and see what data or notices, observations that you gained from your work scope, what you did right, what you did wrong, are there areas of improvement? But that's important data to write your new work scope. If there are questions, you are always willing to, I'm always available for you to reach out to me and let me know uh, what your concerns or questions, and I'll be gladly to answer them as soon as possible. Uh, Contact information for me and Rebecca and Kelvin. Um, those are up there. Sequetta, our director, is there. Her information is there as well. The next time you'll be joining me, I hope, will be in January after the holidays, January 13th on uh, next year, 2021. I can't wait to talk to you again. And by then, I hope you will have enjoyed your holidays. And I will see you in January. Thank you for joining me this year for this time again for Workscope Wednesday. Have a happy Thanksgiving.